everyone. We are so excited to have you here today. Again, your time is valuable. We appreciate you coming on a Friday afternoon to learn about ClassTag and how it could help you meet some of the challenges you've been facing this year. We're going to have a fun time together, but I want to introduce myself. My name is Danielle Fagazi. I am a former assistant principal at a New York City charter school. I was also an elementary school teacher. I taught kindergarten through third grade for about 5 years, and I'm the head of school success at ClassTag. A fun fact about me, I am actually one of ClassTag's first users. About 5 years ago, I was approached about ClassTag, and I had a chance to use it in my classroom. I was actually a first-year teacher. I was really scared to connect with my parents. I actually avoided it at all costs. And I started using ClassTag, and it got a lot easier for me because I was able to post activities, things that were happening in my classroom. And I realized I had a lot of response from families. I had families showing up for events in my classroom. And at first I was confused on why, but I realized it was because of ClassTag. And when I was assistant principal, I was able to have a chance to use ClassTag school-wide and see how easy it was to have all classrooms connected, being able to manage and oversee communication from a upper level, and it was magical. So I'm really excited to teach you about that today.
And I'm Lindsay Kapta. I am a former third grade teacher, and I was an elementary administrator, and now I'm the vice president of user success here at ClassTag. And I actually am a ClassTag parent as well. My kindergarten son has been using it over the last year, and I can tell you that the year that he started pre-K, I was traveling for work. I was a busy person trying to keep up with 2 kids and a job, and couldn't kind of keep it up, and I wasn't as engaged as I knew I should have been and wanted to be. And suddenly we implemented ClassTag for my son's room, and I had this one-stop shop to know where I could find everything that I needed to have for class. So it's been really, really helpful for me and our family as well. So we are excited to tell you a little bit more about it today.
Yeah. And also joining us today for our Q&A session, we have 2 school leaders who are going to introduce themselves. They are using ClassTag school-wide, and I'm so excited to have them a part of our Q&A session so they can answer some of your questions.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Harmon. I am the principal at Paris Middle School in Georgetown, Kentucky. This is my first year as a school principal, and it was also the school that I was at. It was our first year implementing ClassTag. It's been a great experience. We can't wait to use it again next year, and I can't wait to answer your all's questions about it and kind of get you on board as well.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Mills. I am the principal of Barbara A. Sizemore Academy here in Chicago. Like Stephanie, I do have some Kentucky connections. I graduated from the University of Kentucky right up the street. And so this is I believe my school's 2nd year with ClassTag, and I will have to admit that we are probably much stronger and faster than we were prior to using ClassTag. And so I look forward to answering any questions that you may have and supporting your school village. So ask away. Nice to meet everyone.
Let's be honest, March 2020 goes down in the books is probably the craziest month. A lot of us are dealing with the new challenges of COVID-19, but more importantly, as school leaders, you had to deal with closing your schools abruptly and not knowing what the plan was going to be. You had to make sure teachers had resources, that they had a place to be able to educate their students. You had students who not all of them had access to technology or know how to use technology, especially in the younger grades. And some students didn't even have Wi-Fi, which brings us to our parents who not all of them may have been using different platforms for communication with their teachers, finding a way for you to get information out to them right away, but also asking them to partner with you to help educate their student. So it's still uncertain. We're not sure what it's going to look like. And that's why you're here today, how we can be able to help you. And we talked to a lot of school leaders, asking them what they think it's going to look like for back to school. And a lot of them told us that it may be continuing to learn online, a possible blended model where students are transitioning to going to school a couple days a week, but also learning online and having some rotational attendance schedule going, or going back to school as normal for some states that don't have a high number of cases. But with that being said, not knowing if your school is going to close if more cases arise. What is for certain is you're thinking through some next steps that are tangible. If it means that your students are learning online or if they're in the classroom. How do you keep your families in the know, knowing exactly what's going on with the current changes, curriculum, how your school is moving and progressing? Because right now parents want to know what's happening every second of every day because of the uncertainty. And Lindsay, I know you're a parent. Do you want to speak a little more about that?
Yeah, I feel like I'm constantly kind of curious, what will next year look like? And I know that a lot of our administrators are working on that and maybe don't have all the answers yet, but I know that when I get little tidbits of information coming over the summer, that'll help to kind of calm a lot of those fears. So I look forward to that.
And your community right now is a lot different than it was in school. And we all know that teachers, me being one of them, they miss their students. They want to be able to engage. Students are lining up in front of their teachers' houses so they can say hi and wave and give an air hug. So how can you start building the community for next year? So it's a fun one, it's exciting, but it's also stronger than it was before. And we're moving into an age of new technology and how technology can help education even more than it did in the past. So using that as a way to push and build an even stronger community. And you need to be able to know when students are attending class, especially if it's remote learning. How can you make sure that parents are engaged in keeping that community strong? You need that data at your fingertips. And using that data will help you prepare for any new state or federal mandates that come your way.
So we know that there's a lot of uncertainty. We know that there are a lot of question marks, problems that people are kind of thinking through and trying to figure out over the next few months. But luckily, I feel very confident that ClassTag is going to be there for anyone to help kind of meet these challenges. So we are so thrilled to dive in just a little bit deeper and kind of walk you through how we can help you with some of these. So ClassTag is going to serve as your hub. So, it's going to be kind of your one-stop shop for parent communication. Parents will be able to log into this platform. They will be able to see not only classroom activities and events and updates, they'll see everything that's happening in the school. So if maybe school hasn't yet started, but your parents are a part of the system, they will be able to see some updates from their administration on start dates, things that you're doing to keep their families safe. And they can always log in and go back and reference that. I know that there are times that I would delete emails from my school, or I would file them away because I was going to keep them safe or reference them again and I couldn't find them. You suddenly have this platform, this network where you can go in and send a message to people and find it again. You can find those notes. You have a calendar of things that are coming up. There's a directory so that you can go in and find people that you want to message, and it becomes comfortable to send a message to a teacher or to engage with a principal where you may have not felt that comfortable place before. It's like, a place where you feel like you can build true, meaningful relationships. And then as a school leader, you have data at your fingertips. So you know that you can make decisions for school and for your families based on data that you've pulled out of ClassTag. And what's even best about it is it's super easy to use and learn. So we'll kind of dive into some of our favorite features for you today, but you can just kind of think of ClassTag as your central location and your kind of community. So as Danielle mentioned, and I know that you're all thinking about, how do I kind of open up communication in my school? And I know that many of us had to rely on sending an email out to parents, hey, schools are closing. And that's challenging. You kind of hope people are reading their email. Are they checking it? Are they getting these emails? I don't even know if they're seeing my information, and this is so important. Am I going to have parents showing up Monday dropping their kids off? I don't know, and that was such a challenge for a lot of school leaders. And suddenly we have this platform now that we can put in front of parents that you don't have to have a certain type of technology. You don't have to rely on hoping that they're going to see this. We can kind of show you today that you have tools and you'll have information and statistics to show you exactly who's reading that information, what type of, do I need to send a paper note to them home because they don't have access to technology. ClassTag can make that information available to you, or they are able to select some preferences so you can provide them information in a way that meets their needs. So one of the most important things, and I know this term is kind of around everywhere right now, is equity and access. And I think this is so, so important, but ClassTag automatically translates your content to your families in over 60 languages, which is, you know, you don't have to go in and create multiple copies of what you need to send out to families. You can reach them instantaneously, which is super important given some of these timely closures and just really for time savings in general. Your messages can be converted to an SMS or text message. You can send an email if that's a parent's preference, or you can even print a flyer. So ClassTag has a really cool feature that says, hey, there's a delivery failure and we cannot access this parent, something's wrong here. I will flag it to you proactively so you know, hey, we need to make some modifications to this communication. No one is going to be left out because they don't have what they need. You have insight to where a parent is and how you can engage with them. And you have read receipts. So when you send an announcement, you have very clear numbers of how many people have you engaged with, down to the parent level. Has this parent read my message, and has this parent read my message? So you know which parents are engaged and how they're feeling and how comfortable they are with what's going on. It really gives you a lot of certainty when things feel very uncertain. So I'll kind of walk you through the translation piece because I think it's so important. It's pretty cool on top of that. So you as an administrator or one of your school classroom teachers can go in and create a message in ClassTag and just type it in. You can add pictures, you can add video, you can change the font color. It's pretty fun to just create a message in and of itself. However, the moment you click send, parents go in, they set up their preferences, and they decide, do I want messages? Do I want emails? They kind of set up their account, and then they select their language. What is the most comfortable language for me to read my content and respond to content in? So in this given scenario, parent number 1 would get the message that I sent to them as an SMS message in English, while simultaneously, parent number 2 is going to get that same message as an email in Spanish. You don't have to, send multiple messages. It's going out at the same time to everyone in the native language that's best for them. They can then respond in their native language, send it back to me, and I'm going to be able to read it in my language. There's no translation necessary. It's pretty magical. And the reminders happen the same way. It's just kind of an automatic translation, and we really, really love it, and parents do too. So at this point, I'd kind of ask you, are my families really as engaged as I would like them to be? And we wanted to get some touch points from teachers and really see, based on the pandemic, how were people feeling? What happened as a result of school closures? Were parents more engaged? Were they less engaged? What were some of those obstacles? And so we actually asked 1,000 teachers, what happened before COVID-19? How engaged were your family members? 58% of families were engaging with content on a regular basis. They would send something out, parents were engaged, and they were participating in this. And this is non-ClassTag users. And then during COVID-19, that number went down, not much, but slightly. It went down. Parents were a little bit less engaged, but overall, they were still fairly engaged with what was going on in the classroom. And then we asked that same question to ClassTag users. You'll see that 64% of families were engaged in that content on a regular basis. And then we actually had an increase with COVID. So, we had some remote learning tools, which we'll demonstrate to you later. And we had kind of a one-stop shop. So parents became more engaged as a part of school closures rather than less. So that was something we were really excited to see from our ClassTag teachers. I'll kind of just share two quick anecdotes from a teacher, Molly. This was someone that signed up with us during the COVID situation. And it's always great to hear our stories on social media from our teachers, but she sent a message on Twitter saying, I sent out my first daily message to my ClassTag, or to my class on ClassTag. My students are loving it and parents are sharing videos and pictures. I love having such a great platform during e-learning. So it's simple and easy to use. And then a couple days later, she sent out a great message that we all love to read.
Frozen.
That's
okay,
all right.
There you go.
That's all right. I'd love to tell you I have it memorized, but I'm going to read it just a little bit. I want to give a huge shout out to ClassTag for being an amazing platform to keep in touch with parents, post videos, and resources in one place. My parents love it, and I'm so glad I use it every day. So it's just great. I can tell you that our teachers love it, and we love passing those messages on to our product team. They love hearing that as well. So straight from the mouths of our teachers.
And now I'm going to show you some of our features available for school leaders. And I'm going to start with my absolute favorite feature, and it's announcements. Announcements are versatile. You can send an announcement to your whole school. You can send it to specific grades or certain classrooms that you want to send it to. And why announcements are probably my favorite is because you're able to send out information in real time or scheduled time. And you can attach photos, videos, and files. And in this short little video, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to create an announcement. So as you see here, I can put in my information, I could customize the fonts, attach files, I can add any Google Docs or folders. I have it sending out at a later time. You're able to preview, which is great for SMS or for email. And when it sends, or it posts, a school-wide announcement will post right to the school page. So now parents and teachers have access whenever they want by going to the school page, but also that same announcement will send out to everyone into all of the classrooms. You can see red receipts as well. Another feature that's great for school leaders is the internal staff messaging. With a click, you can send a message to all of your staff, a group of staff members and teachers. You can create the message easily, attach any embedded links, documents, photos, and you can also view which teachers have read it. And lastly, the directory page. The directory page is where you're going to be able to oversee all of your attached school leaders, the teachers. You can invite them. At the bottom, you can view all of the grades and classrooms connected to your school and create new ones. But easily, you can just go right into any classroom and see the activity level happening in the classroom. You're able to create activities, and you can also message parents easily right from the classroom. So hopefully you'll see announcements as a great tool when you start using ClassTag. And another feature that's great for school leaders and for teachers is the ability to see exactly what's happening in the classroom in terms of the activity level. So we have a stats page where you can see how many families have RSVP'd for an event, how many announcements have been read per classroom, but also have an overall summary from a school level of the level of engagement happening. So especially not knowing what it's going to look like for back to school, if school will be remote for your area or in school or both, you can still see the level of activity happening in each classroom and the whole school right from ClassTag. And the development team worked very closely with a lot of our teachers. I would say this is probably another reason why I love when I use ClassTag as a teacher and a school leader, but also working for ClassTag, is that we love teacher feedback and leader feedback. That's what makes ClassTag an amazing platform, because we take that feedback and we try to do what we can to make that feedback actionable and create features that are helpful for everyone. And during remote learning, there are a couple features that we created to really ease the process and make learning better. So one popular feature is called quick links. And the quick links, as you can see over here underneath the classroom, are a set of actively used links that parents would need to access, teachers can access, as well as school leaders. And it sits at the top, you can edit them, and it's just an easy place to find those frequently used websites, instead of having to have these websites or materials in all these other places. It could be right in the classroom. Another feature is our library feature, where anything that you create in ClassTag, where you're attaching a file, a video, or a photo, will feed right into the library, so it can be accessed at a later time. And we launched just yesterday our student backpack, which is a portfolio secure folder where both teachers and parents can add any files related to their student. And it's also a place where you can keep it for parent-teacher conferences. Maybe you want to hold all of those photos and files for yearbooks. So it's just a great place to house everything for one specific student. And added recently was our Google integrations. So like, as I showed you when I created an announcement, you can attach a whole Google Drive folder, a PowerPoint, a Google Doc, anything for Google, so it's right in ClassTag.
So you may be kind of curious when you're looking at other solutions and you're looking at ClassTag. We've got text messages and email, and you can message school-wide, and we have a lot of amazing features. How it's possible that, you know, these other solutions are charging a pretty substantial per student cost, and ClassTag is charging you $0. We're excited to kind of share that model with you, but ClassTag has these amazing brand sponsors that we partner with, and they really are subsidizing the cost on your behalf, so that you're reallocating money in a different way. So you can see that here. What's even better is that our brand sponsors are able to kind of give back to our classrooms along with ClassTag. So one of our favorite things of our teachers is our ClassTag rewards program. We give teachers coins for engaging with their families and for using ClassTag. So once they earn these coins, they get to spend them in our reward store on things that they need for their classroom. So you can see here, we get lots of shout outs of social media, but they can spend them on things like bleach wipes, which were very handy over the last few months, and stickers and pens and pencils and laminators, gift cards, and just things that teachers need and typically spend their own money on. So we have such a great business model. It's a lot of fun. It drives engagement. It drives a lot of excitement. And it's super fun. So our manager of our rewards program, we call her Oprah. She gets to kind of pass these out every month, and she has one of the most fun jobs ever. So we just get to really love seeing how happy this makes our schools and our teachers. So it's really fun for us as well. Yeah. So we would just love, and I've seen a couple messages in the chat kind of going, but how do we get started? And I love seeing that. We have an offer here. So you can see this Calendly link. So Calendly is going to give you an opportunity, this link here, and I am actually going to share in this box a link for you to schedule some time. So what this is this is an opportunity for you to schedule time with Danielle and myself for an implementation call. And we're going to walk you through exactly what this will look like for your school, how can we set you up, and make sure that you have a very clear picture of what it will look like to implement ClassTag. And we're going to be scheduling those calls for next week, so we can make sure that you have everything you need to get started with ClassTag. And I'm also going to put it in the chat box just so that you all have it. And I'll just give you a minute so that you have time to kind of click through that. I don't want that to get lost in the chat, but I'd encourage you to kind of take advantage of that offer. But just for the next few seconds, while you're signing up, we will be on that call kind of talking you through what should professional development look like in your building. What are some of the best practices for setting up ClassTag? How should we structure this? What are common things that my teachers may run into? What are some challenges? I have some product questions. We know this demo is really a short call, and so we know that you're going to have follow-up questions for our team. So we want to make sure that you guys have everything that you need. So that's what you can kind of expect from that conversation. So you kind of get some more in a deeper dive with Danielle and I next week. So I think that offer is in the right-hand box. We will make sure that everybody has that. Is there any? Oh, I love seeing people are already booking sessions. It looks like everybody's having that, so that's awesome. Can you click to the next slide, Danielle?
Yeah.
So I think we spoke about this. We kind of will walk you through this, and I guess you can kind of see there. But one thing I want to make sure that you have, we are kind of giving an offer to 50 schools that were on yesterday and today's web sessions or webinars. We really only we want to dedicate resources to make sure that 50 schools have kind of hands-on one-to-one support. So we're going to be setting these schools up for you, making sure that you have all these resources, that you have a person to make sure that you have everything set up. So we will make sure that you have these resources. So in order to get one of those 50 spots, clicking that link is actually going to secure that space. So I would just encourage you while you're on. I know we have a lot of people that already signed up yesterday, and that's kind of the downside to being on the second session to the call today. I'm not sure how many spots we have, but I would encourage you to go ahead and sign up for that. But we are going to just make sure that we take care of setting you up. So we'll make sure that you understand how to set up your school. We have documentation for you. We have kind of the best practices, but you will have kind of a guided white glove service to make sure that we set you up. We know that schools are ending, that your teachers are kind of scattered, so we want to make sure we set you up for success now. So if you have questions about that before we jump off the webinar today, we will make sure we get those answered, and we'll make sure that you all have that link. But without further ado, I know we want to turn you over to our school leaders. That is why you're here. So you can submit your questions in the chat room, and we will just let Stephanie and Jocelyn share with you their experience, and we're excited to have them on. Let's see. I know that I've seen some people that have wanted to know if we were going to be sharing a replay of this webinar. We will make sure you all have a replay of this so you can share it with your colleagues. So absolutely, we will do that. All right, so let's look at some of these questions that we have coming in. So I guess, and I'll make sure that Jocelyn and Stephanie, we'd love to have kind of both of your perspectives on all of these questions, because I know you may have different experiences being in different levels. So what was the impact of rolling out ClassTag, and what did your parents and teachers, what was their feedback? What did they like about it? How do they feel about it?
Well, my teachers, the way that I got them sold on using ClassTag and switching over from Remind or other platforms was by telling them, hey, if you get on here and you start engaging parents in the communication, you're going to get free stuff. And that sold them. They bought in. And so it was really easy to get them to start, reaching out to parents, getting parents logged on. And when parents found out that they could set it up the way they wanted to, so that they got an email or a text message, and it was coming to them in a format that was useful to them, that also helped with that buy-in of getting them to use that tool.
For myself, I think the greatest, I'll be very frank, I didn't even make it optional. I pretty much said that we needed one centralized place of communicating as a school. and that we didn't need to have different people on Class Dojo and some people on Remind and all of this, because, parents are very busy, and for them to have children of different grade levels in our building accessing 5 different communication platforms was just not customer service friendly, in my opinion. And so now what I do think convinced teachers, quite frankly, was the fact that it was centralized and it did keep all of our messaging streamlined. And so it does allow for me to see what they're posting and how they're communicating with families, as well as them seeing what I'm posting and how I'm communicating with families. And we're not sending out messages on top of each other and all of that. And one added benefit I might add is that my network is often sending out robocalls and emails and things like that. And if I'm using the exact same communication platforms as they are, it was hard for the families to know whether things were coming from me and our teachers, or whether it was coming from our network. So to put us on a different type of school communication platform is a plus, because the parents know it comes from ClassTag, it's coming from the school, and not it getting all mixed up in some of the other communication. So it has been very helpful. It also, for my teachers, we are absolutely fantastic at this point with documentation. We know when things are read. We know who's reading it. I recently did a video. I can tell you 334 people saw the video. I don't even know how that's possible, because my school only has 250 kids. I at least know that people saw that video. That's helpful, because what that does is, in that information tells me that video communication works. And so if I want people to have information, I need to put it in a video. So you do get information like that kind of informs your practice with communication. That's very helpful.
Perfect. Okay. I know I've seen a few notes here about Remind, and you referenced Remind. So we've had someone mention that they've considered switching from Remind. What do you think? Have either one of you used Remind in the past at your institutions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have some? I would love to hear kind of that experience from switching from Remind to ClassTag.
I will tell you one thing that kind of shifts me to ClassTag. There are some features in it that Remind doesn't have, but one feature that I actually like is that there's an element to ClassTag that feels like social media. That I think a lot of times people miss that aspect of it, is that the stream or the thread of how information comes through looks a lot like it would on a social media platform like Facebook. And so socially, it has elements to it that allow people to kind of socialize and interact with each other that you don't necessarily have in other platforms. Now, you can control that. You may not want parents talking to each other, but you can. And so there are elements to it that, even if I didn't have a Facebook page, I could use it in that way. And I think that's what makes it a little bit more social than Remind, in my opinion. And if you want it in today's time where people feel disconnected, you could certainly use it to kind of bridge that disconnect.
Perfect. That's awesome.
So I've been in a school that uses Remind. my children are in schools that use Remind, and I have also been in schools that use ClassDojo. I think I saw somebody asking about ClassDojo too.
Mm-hmm.
And with Remind, it's very limited in what you can do. It's very limited in what you see when it comes through in a text message, and even in just the amount of information that you can put out there. So for me and for the teachers in my school, ClassTag, I don't have to worry about only having so many characters. I can put everything that I want to out there so that they can access it. So for me, that just kind of, sets it above. There's just so much more that you can do with ClassTag than you can do with Remind. And then in regards to ClassDojo, we went back and forth. Do we use ClassDojo or do we use ClassTag? And ultimately, what pushed me to tell my teachers, hey, I think this is why we need to use ClassTag, is that it's positive. Everything that comes out of it, it's positive interactions. And it does not have a behavior management system built into it, which is what ClassDojo is mostly used for. And I'm fine with that. I am totally okay with that, because that purposefully makes our communications have to be positive. And it encourages that communication back and forth between parents and teachers. ClassDojo is so focused on the behavior component that I think sometimes, with certain families, it becomes negative communication. And so they stop tapping into it. They start looking at the other messages and other stuff that's being sent out on there, because they're getting so many messages about behavior that it just kind of turns them away from it. And you don't have to worry about that with ClassTag.
I wanted to add on as well that when I was assistant principal and we were using it school-wide, we had a lot of families who spoke another language other than English. And like myself, when I was teaching, I was a little timid to communicate with my parents. And ClassTag helps you build the relationships that teachers are trying to build with their parents without even realizing they're doing it. Because parents are a lot more responsive, because they're able to read the information being sent out and respond in a comfortable way that works for them. And having them know when they can come in to sign up to bring something or attend a school event, it's so much easier to go through ClassTag than having all these other places to find the information. And a lot of my teachers found success with it because of that aspect of realizing, wow, I have all these people coming to this event. How? Because of the automated reminders, going in the language that they prefer to speak. It just makes a stronger community.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a couple other questions in here, and I wanted to clarify one thing before we get back to this particular topic. It looks like the link that is written out in the presentation that you see on the bottom right-hand screen is actually not working as we had intended. But if you look in the screen of the presentation software, there's a button there's an icon that says offers, and then you can click the button that says schedule time. That is the correct link to schedule an implementation session with us. I know that several of you are trying to block off a time right now. So click the offers button and then click schedule a time. It will take you to the correct Calendly link. It's the one that says calendly.com/Danielle/ClassTag. So I will paste that in here again in the comments. I know that you guys are asking, so I didn't want there to be any confusion. I wanted to make sure that you guys had the right link. So we apologize for that. So there's a lot of questions that are also kind of popping up too about homework. Are we able to post assignments? What about work and learning in ClassTag? So I know we quickly kind of mentioned some of those remote learning features, but I know that's still going to be very relevant as we all go back to school. So how have you guys, or how have your teachers adopted ClassTag in terms of using it to share lessons, activities, assignments with parents and with students?
So my teachers, they have used it, as an additional form of communicating daily assignments to students and to families during, you know, these school shutdowns. You know, now that there's the backpack option, they could actually, you know, almost use it as opposed to using something even like a Google Classroom, because now it's like all in there. So I don't know if my teachers have even noticed that the backpack feature is there, because I think it just came out like yesterday. So that's something new that we're going to have to work through in regards to moving into next year. So the big way that they, you know, that it came in handy for us during this time, I had lots of families who my teachers were really having a difficult time getting in touch with, either on the phone, by text message, even, you know, they went as far as to reach out on social media and try and message parents that way, and they just couldn't get a hold of them. But they were able to get a hold of them on ClassTag. And so it has proven to really be helpful to us to get in touch with some families that we just, you know, weren't able to through any other means.
Jocelyn, you may be on mute.
My fault.
You good?
All right. One thing I think to point out is my school is K-8, which means that's very interesting, because all of the students developmentally are not in the same space of being able to do certain tasks with technology. And so 3rd through 8th is using Google Classroom, of course. And, you know, they have the ability to access technology. The primary K through 2, where it may be a little bit intimidating for a 1st grader to try to go in Google Classroom and access activities. It makes it more user-friendly for parents of children who have those younger students to post assignments to ClassTag using private messaging. That's something that they can manage, because when you're talking about the smaller children, the parents inevitably are going to have to manage the learning environment. It's not like you can tell an 8th grader, go into your Google Classroom and do your work. A 1st grader has to have assistance with that. And so we use ClassTag at the primary level in much the same way you would use Google Classroom for older students. And I find it to be helpful. But I think one piece that I would like to remind this group too is, even aside from that, you want a tool that people trust, because we are in the middle of a pandemic. And though we can talk all day about how the students post work and this, that, and the other, I found that it's helpful because people trust the communication tool enough to tell me when their children are not eating, when they don't have food, when family members are in the hospital, when, you know, it's an altogether different thing to open ClassTag up and read a message of a family of 5 and all 5 of them are in the hospital. They're not going to call a lot of times and share that information. So what I can say is that most of the information I am getting is from ClassTag. I get frequent communication in that way, in a way that I don't get from emails or even phone calls. I don't know what that is, but I do know that it's something different. People are less likely to communicate with me in the more formal ways. They appear to want, it's more conversational this way. So I did want to just point that out as an observation.
Wow,
Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, I have chills from that. So
Mm-hmm.
well, I think we have kind of gone over our 20 minutes, but I think it has been a very meaningful extra, you know, time to hear those stories. And thank you guys so much for sharing your perspective and how, you know, ClassTag has helped you all. And I know that we still have lots of questions that have been coming in, so we owe lots of responses back to you all. But this has just been such a great session, and it has been extremely helpful for us to learn from you guys as well and how things are going for you. So thank you so much. Danielle, anything else that you can think of?
Yes, we are providing all of you with one of our free resources. It's a school launch pack where you will be able to find everything you need to get started launching ClassTag school-wide. It's a great guide. It tells you how you can collaborate with teachers to work with the same group of students, being able to sign everyone up and all your staff members. We're going to drop that in the comments as well for you. And when we send a follow-up email, you'll also have access to that resource as well. So I hope everyone signs up for a session with us next week so we can take a deeper dive into ClassTag. Definitely enjoyed this session. I look forward to seeing everyone soon.
Yeah, that launch pack, I think, is showing up in the files section of the right-hand window. It's a PDF version of this. You can download it. It is some really a step-by-step everything you should need to know to bring your entire school on for school leaders and for teachers. We're super excited to share with it. We haven't shared it with any schools or school leaders yet, so you're kind of getting that first access. Thank you all so much. We look forward to seeing you next week on the implementation calls, and we'll be in touch soon with more information. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Stephanie. You guys were fantastic to have on.
Thank you.
Thank you.